Hello, Dr. Nick Mabbott here from Beyond Midnight. I would like to talk to you about shift work transitions. And if you're a shift worker, and it doesn't matter what sort of shift work you do, often we have to change in between days and then go to nights and then come back into days and so on. Let me tell you the best ways of doing that. And where do the best ways come from? Certainly not from scholarly articles and things like this. The best information has come from me being in front of around 26,000 people, probably at least half of whom have been shift workers. And you get to hear the stories about what works and what doesn't work. Let me start off by telling you what does not work. If you're ready to start shift work tomorrow night, the worst thing you want to do tonight is sit up really late, have a few drinks, and go to bed at say 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Because what happens if you do is you probably sleep right through till about 10 o'clock in the morning if you can, and have a really good sleep. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but if you wake up at say 10 o'clock, you cannot physically get another sleep in the afternoon at all. And of course, the problem there is you go from 10 o'clock in the morning right through to say 6 o'clock in the afternoon where you'll start work. And if you're doing a 12-hour shift, you add 12 hours to that. From 10 till 6 is 8 hours plus another 12. That's 20 hours awake. And you haven't even gone home yet. So if you're driving home after 20 hours awake, you are dangerously impaired. You are driving home at the equivalent impairment level of someone who is between 0.05 and 0.08 blood alcohol content. Now that's pretty bad. That's 2 to 3 times the risk of a crash. Plus, on top of that, if you've been awake, say 22 hours by the time you finally get to sleep, you'll need around 9 or 10 hours of sleep to clear all the waste from your brain that you have produced from being awake for 22 hours. It's virtually impossible to have a good second night shift because your first day of sleeping will probably only be around 5 or 6 anyway, and you'll have built such a big sleep debt that night too, you will come crashing down right through the middle of the night, and especially at 4 o'clock in the morning. Let me tell you the preferred way to do it by people who are very successful at night shift. So before you start, let's go back a few days before your first night shift and say, be on a good rhythm. A good rhythm might be, say, 10 p.m. bedtime, 6 o'clock wake time, or any variant around that. Keep the same rhythm. So the night before your first night shift, sleep your same rhythm, say 10 till 6. Get your full 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep. Get up in the morning and do some physical movement. That is very good for your body. And what I recommend there is maybe get a few things done around the house. Go for a jog, go to the gym, whatever works for you. Have a busy morning up until around lunchtime, and say around 12 o'clock, perhaps something to eat for lunch, a nice light lunch. And then at about 1:45, have a nice hot shower. Focus that on the back of your neck, and that'll get your core body temperature up just that little bit. When you step out of the shower, you'll cool down a bit. Jump in bed and ride that natural drop in sleep temperature that we get around 1 p.m. and try and get 3 hours of sleep. Set your alarm for 4 o'clock. Just go to your happy place. If you don't find you're sleeping, just give it a bit more of a try. And of course, if it's not working, get out of bed, read a book, and then if you feel sleepy, go back to bed. But have your alarm set for 4. If you can get at least an hour and a half, or better still, 3 hours of sleep before 4 o'clock, that is really important, because then you're only awake 2 hours plus your 12-hour working shift. By the time you're driving, you're only awake 14 hours, and you will drive with less impairment. Very important for your safety of your trip home. And plus, you don't need as much sleep to get you a good second night shift the following night. So that's the best way to transition in. Now, how do you get the best sleep during the day? I've seen some huge gains in people eating low GI carbohydrates for breakfast, such as porridge or any form of oats, because that tends to extend your body's fuel for the day instead of the regular 4.5 to 5 hours that most shift workers get. And the reason most people get 4.5 hours is because once you get to the end of the 3rd sleep cycle, the brain is quite conscious of you having a full bladder. It will wake you up to go to the toilet. But of course, if you're hungry because you've eaten the wrong foods, then you have to have something to eat, and that will completely wake you up, and you'll find it hard to sleep for the rest of the afternoon. On porridge or low GI breakfasts, when you wake up to go to the toilet, you should find that you're not hungry, and you should be able to close your eyes and go back to sleep. So that is a crucial part of extending your sleep during the day out to 7 or even 8 hours. And where I've been delivering my training in the past, a lot of shift workers have now moved from their average of 4.5 hours out to nearly 7 to 8 hours of sleep every day that they're on night shift. So that is a really good outcome. Transitioning back into day shift, when you finished your last night shift, go home and try and get anywhere up to 4.5 hours of sleep, and try and get that knocked out by 1 p.m. Do not sleep in the afternoon, or you'll remain a shift worker that night and you won't be able to sleep when you want to. Please be aware that that afternoon you should not drive a vehicle or operate machinery, because you will be impaired and it will take a while to recover that impairment. That night, if you can get a good 10 hours sleep, still wake up about 6 in the morning, that would be fantastic. You should get rid of a lot of sleep debt. It's probably the best recovery you can do. Try not to sleep in late in the morning, because you set yourself a late rhythm, and then it'll be hard going back to day shift. That's all I have for now. Again, there's more on the website. There'll be more coming out when that book comes out, Beyond Midnight, The Wonder of Sleep. You have a great week, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.